Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are located. Welcome to this conversation on the future of telecommunication, on the future of communication at large, as we will talk about artificial intelligence and specifically about the conversational platforms, which we think are the future and the present of communication. I would like to start by introducing the speaker of today, starting with me. I'm Fabio Moioli. I'm the head of Microsoft Consulting and Services. I'm a very strong passionate of artificial intelligence, and I'm specifically interested in how we can use this technology to improve the way we work and to improve our society at large. Now, I would like to introduce you to Ram.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ram. I lead the Europe, Middle East, and Africa time zone for Microsoft Services, focusing on data and AI solutions. Again, this is a great area of passion of mine, and I'm really glad to be in this session. Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you, Ram. It's a pleasure really to have you here. And now I'd like to introduce you to Veronica. Welcome, Veronica.
Hi, everyone. Veronica Jager. I'm part of the Western Europe healthcare team. And as such, I work with both customers and partners. And I'm really passionate about technology and specifically the application of technology to the healthcare industry.
It's great to have you here, Veronica. Really, thank you. I know you will share lots of interesting insight. Next, I'd like to introduce my dear friend and colleague, Orlando. Welcome, Orlando.
Thanks, Fabio. Hi, everyone. I am Sales Manager in Microsoft Consulting and Services, following the global accounts business in Italy. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you all to talk the impact of a conversational platform in our society and sharing the lessons learned in our experience. So let's talk about it later on.
Thank you, Orlando. We have also here with us from Seattle, Gabriele G. Masili. That really, I think, it's an honor to have you here with us, with all these great speakers. And Gabriele, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Fabio. Hi, everybody. Very happy to be here. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and VP for Customer Service and Support at Microsoft, and I'm very excited to be here to share with you some of the learnings we had implementing conversational AI to serve customers.
Thank you, Gabriele. We also have with us Julia, that will help us in moderating the session, in the Q&A session at the end. And also she will share a lot of interesting links, article, videos directly in the comment section of LinkedIn. So here you are, Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia. I'm an account executive, and I will help the others to keep up with all your comments and questions on the social media. Enjoy that.
Thank you, Julia. So I would like to show you the agenda for today, for this session, where basically I will give a short introduction on conversational AI, which are really the future and the present of communication. Then I will ask Ram to share his amazing experiences in some of the most advanced AI platforms in the world, or a lot of learning and insight he can share with us. Veronica will be able to see and share with you how conversational AI can be used in the healthcare sector in many different scenarios, and I would say specifically in the fight against COVID. Then Orlando, working with me, will share with you his real experience in many cutting-edge projects that we have done here in Italy in many different sectors. And following him, Gabriele will share with us some of his experience and learning in managing some very large conversational platform, a lot of customer interaction, as is our global CTO, and in many of the interaction we have both internally in Microsoft and with our customers. So really a privilege to have such a speakers here with us today. I would like to actually to start this session with you, this conversation, because really share any question, anything you want on the comments, and Julia will help us in making this as interactive as possible. And now I will start showing you something that can be quite interesting, a real conversation of a conversational AI in China. She or he is called Xiaowais. Sorry, it's AI has taken control.
喂，我是小兵，现在心情好点没？有点不放心。好多了。谢谢你听我唠叨工作上的事儿。已经12点了，你该去睡觉啦。那我明天早上电话叫你起床吗？好呀。还是8点半吗？行。好，我会在明天早上8点半叫你起床。再见喽。拜拜。对了，今天晚上会有6级风，睡前别忘了关好窗户。你也早点睡吧。
I think this can be quite interesting to hear. And what you heard right now is Shawai's. Shawai's, besides having phone conversation like the one we have seen with millions of people in China, she's also one of the most read poetess in the world, as she's writing poetry. She has 660 million followers. She's also conducting a TV show. She's conducting a radio show. There is a specific time in the morning where she's conducting 18 radio shows in parallel. She's adapting books for children. She's a composer. She's a singer. She's many, many other things. And Julia will share with you in the comment section on LinkedIn many interesting things on Shawai's that you might find surprising, to say the least. Clearly, to reach what I've shown you about Shawai's, it's been a journey. And everything actually started in 2016, really this acceleration of conversational AI, when AI reached human parity in the switchboard test, which is the ability to translate from spoken to written text in English and in other languages. And soon after, on 15th of January 2018, AI reached human parity, conversational AI reached human parity in the Stanford question and answering test, which are very advanced tests that require a profound understanding of what's written to answer general question about it. And soon after, in March 2018, AI reached human parity in the test to translate from Chinese to Western languages. So now you can use this technology to read Sunshine, which is the last poetry book written by Shawai's in China. And Julia is sharing in the LinkedIn section on LinkedIn a lot of insight and additional information on what I share with you right now, on this amazing achievement. And it may surprise you quite a lot that what I showed you at the beginning, the video of Shawai's, is a real interaction of Shawai with a user, full duplex, in 2018. It's not something new. So think about it. And this means really that conversational AI is not the future. It is the present of communication with employee and with customer. At the beginning, it started with the web, where people were going in the web, and we're still doing it and doing search. Then there has been the apps ecosystem, the apps world, but everyone agreed that the future and the present is a conversational AI you talk with, like the Shawai's that showed you, and then you have this conversational AI talking or interacting with the artificial intelligence in your car, in your house, at your office, in public location, everywhere. So that's the future, really. A discussion, a conversation between machines, between AI agents that help us to work better and be more effective and improve our quality of life. This means clearly that we are using this technology everywhere, especially in the financial sector, but I would say really it's also very much used in the telecommunication sector, in manufacturing. Every time there is some interaction with customer and employee. For instance, Julia will share with you in the LinkedIn comments of section a very nice video on La Liga, the football federation in Spain. And please watch it, because you may be super surprised on what has been done with conversational AI, in this case in the sport area in Spain with La Liga. And now, also to really make you understand what means today having a conversational AI, the level that has been reached, I would like to share with you a short video. Please pay attention to it and see what you will be able to understand.
cheeseburger and 1 chicken McNugget, both with fries and apples, 1 with a chocolate milk and 1 with a small orange juice. Also give me 2 cheeseburgers, both of those noise and 1 of those untouchables as well, 1 fry and a large coffee, 2 cream, 3 sugars. Would you like that fry to be large?
Okay, so let's stay here. And I would like to ask you to write what you have understood of this order done at McDrive. This was a real order done at McDrive. Please write in the LinkedIn comment section the order and see there is an award, there is a prize for the person that will be able to fully grasp what has been ordered. Actually, really, go in the LinkedIn section, comment, and you will find the entire video that I wasn't able to share due to time, where you will see how artificial intelligence was able to fully grasp this order dynamic drive. Because when there is a lot of noise, conversational AI today can be even better than our human here in understanding. And we are using it in many contexts where there is a lot of noise, like in mining, like in oil and gas station, petrol station, in many domains in factories where there is a lot of noise, and conversational AI can understand what's been said and help us in improving the way we perceive the world. Because we are moving from a world where I can say that we have to understand machine to this new world where machines are understanding us better and better. And they are also helping us in understanding each other. For instance, Tele2 has done a project in Scandinavia where if I'm there and I'm talking Italian with some accent from Bergamo, which is my home city, and I can speak Italian, and Tele2 will directly translate to Swedish or any other language using translation AI. We will share also a link on this in the LinkedIn section. So this was my short introduction. And now I would like to give the stage to my dear friend Ram, that will be with us to share his expertise and everything that he has done on conversational AI and on AI at large. Please, the stage is yours, Ram.
Thank you, Fabio. Once again, it's great to be here. Working with the customers that we have, there are certain patterns that we're seeing, and I'd love to share that today. Fabio, if you can move to the next slide. Yeah, we are living in an interesting time right now. COVID has thrown a monkey wrench into everything that everybody is doing right now. And we are seeing some of these patterns change as well as our customers and us as well try to scramble to find what these new signals are, what signals that we were having before will be lost, and essentially how do we continue to transform and thrive despite the crisis that we have. And there are a few patterns that are emerging that you can see on the screen, but I really want to focus on the last one, right, where we are seeing that customers are now trying to increase the number of digital channels that they are able to engage with their employees and their clients as well. And clearly, we're seeing that the digital divide between mature organizations from a digital capability standpoint and that of laggards, the digitally mature organizations have an advantage. So in that context of enabling and engaging effective conversations with the employees and customers, conversational AI is a big, I would say, avenue there. If you go to the next slide, and why it matters clearly is because it's not just about engaging. It actually boosts productivity. It's not just about getting in more hours in the day, but it actually makes people more effective, and it actually boosts the business all up, right? And the numbers that you see out there are real in terms of the impact that conversational systems can provide. And what it means to our business very clearly is building loyalty with customers, with our customers, to really look at the conversational system being an extension of our brand and increase the brand presence. And also to be able to provide our customers with a voice through automated ways. Apart from automating regular tasks, it also provides employees now with critical insights that will help them become more productive, more effective, and finally, to reimagine our business, to be able to use conversational systems to increase the core of the business. And when you really think about bots that enable more automation to conversational AI, the key thing is really about making it much more of a learning system, right? Where it's not just that we are automating something, but the system is also understands patterns and is able to understand from interactions and constantly learn along. And this is exactly where the human parity that we have achieved in so many of these underlying technologies that Fabio talked about are key enablers. So Fabio, if you move to the next slide. Yeah. So some of the examples of bots and conversational AI that we have seen as patterns are, if you think about internal bots, whether it's IT help desks or whether it's for internal knowledge managements, to really advanced bots where it can actually help close out some specific outcomes like inquiring about accounts, but also being able to help make payments and things like that. And you can now imagine how this can be extrapolated to various situations, especially in the current situation that we are all in, trying to work from home and still engaging with our customers in meaningful ways. So when you think about this, there are some complex challenges that come along with this, right? The expectations continue to steadily climb in a number of areas, including the number of channels that our customers are expecting to engage. But as organizations add these new engagement channels, the collective architecture in the back end becomes so much more complex, and it becomes very disconnected. And one of the key things that our customers are asking for is this consistency of their experience across these channels, and channels not being managed as silos. So on an average, what we have seen is customers use 3 or more channels to engage. And when they actually have a disconnected experience across these channels, that could have a detrimental effect. So it's really important that when we create these conversational systems, that there is continuity of experiences, there is enhancement of experiences across these channels, and that really represents the brand. So when you really think about what this experience should look like across these channels and projecting your brand, it needs to be personal, where the system really understands the data that we have and can personalize the interaction. It needs to be proactive. It needs to be productive in terms of really driving specific outcomes. But also, at the end of the day, it needs to be dynamic as well in terms of really learning from those experiences and continuing to close that feedback loop, from every bits of data that you get from it. So when you think about this overall journey to make this happen, you really have to build it on 3 or 4 key pillars. The first one is really creating those new channels and touch points, and really understanding on how you can bring those touch points together in a conversational experience. So that's number one. The second thing is to really invest in a scalable infrastructure so that the applications themselves can grow along with the business. And next is to really make users more successful with experience that adapt to them and then learn from what they want to do. So this continuous feedback loop is critical in making these conversational experiences real, and then being able to scale the application and delivery with a really agile and nimble process with flexible tools and services for the developers. Now, what enables this from a Microsoft perspective is the platform that's available, a complete a bot and conversational AI solution that's available, right from ways that you can integrate various channels to the bot framework that's available, to the cognitive services APIs that's available, to a very, very solid data platform that you can then you can connect back to, and abilities to connect back to your business processes as such. And investing in the scalable infrastructure really helps you create that consistent experiences across the various channels. Now, scaling the app delivery also means with any application, you should have the option to choose between PaaS and SaaS approaches when creating this bot solution. And with Microsoft, you can do that. The Microsoft Bot Framework is an open source SDK and tooling optimized for bot developer. But we now have launched the Power Virtual Agents, which is a no-code SaaS offering that's optimized for business experts in your organizations to be able to easily create these experiences. Best of all, with Power Virtual Agents on top of this bot framework, you can benefit from this no cliffs experience all up. And when you create these experiences, it actually creates these impressions, and impressions are what ultimately projects your brand. And when you think about a bot, ultimately that's what it's going to be about in terms of how you project yourself and your brand. With that, Fabio, over to you.
Thank you, Ram. It's been really a pleasure to hear you. I know we have received a lot of questions, and we will answer them at the end of this session where we have the Q&A, because if we start to answer all these questions that you receive, Ram, I am afraid we will never be able to share the content from Veronica and the other friend that are with us. So please keep your question for a few minutes, and we will answer all of them at the end. But please continue sharing the question. We are collecting them to answer them at the end already. And with this, thank you, Ram. I would like to hand over to Veronica that will talk about healthcare and the way these technologies transform the healthcare sector. But before she starts, I would like to share with you a short video.
Serving patients and saving lives means embracing technology today and driving innovation in the future to deliver medical care that is more precise and personalized to patients on a global scale. The edges are no longer the boundaries, and the opportunities are limitless, with better experiences, better insights, and better care.
So, welcome, Veronica.
Thank you, Fabio. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can. I will leave the stage to you. I really look forward to listening to everything you have to share. I know healthcare is an important sector always, and it is probably especially important right today with what is ongoing in the world, in Italy and everywhere else related to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and very happy to be here. So just a quick word on the video that we just saw. This video is all about what we call digital tech intensity. So it's the combination of speed of adoption of newest and greatest technology and the digital tech capabilities that your organization, every organization has built. And all is powered by trust in the technology and trust in the provider. So really with these three ingredients, every organization can transform the way they provide the services or they develop products. And back to the healthcare, this is really important because it's all about how technology can help changing or inventing new services for citizens to, at the end of the day, improve the outcomes of the care process. And Microsoft has been focusing on health since ever, but really is with Satya Nadella taking over as a global CEO that we have seen a huge focus on health. And the reason why is that we all think that healthcare industry has the hugest potential when it comes to new technologies, because really with the cloud and the possibility to scale resources dynamically based on the demand, you can develop population health scenarios, but at the same time, thanks to AI, you can really go deep into one patient at a time, moving fast towards the personalized care. And as part of this huge focus from the company on health, something like 2 years ago, an engineering team has been started to work on the healthcare bot. The healthcare bot is a software as a service solution built on top of the Microsoft bot framework, but the peculiarity of the healthcare bot is that it has built-in medical intelligence, as well as natural language processing capabilities, some compliance construct inside it, like GDPR compliance, ISO compliance. It's very relevant when we talk about healthcare scenarios, because we know that the data that we are treating are really sensitive data. And in 2 years' time, the team, the healthcare bot team, has been able really to build a number of scenarios in form of templates that can accelerate the speed of adoption of our organizations. And here in this slide, we really have one example of this template, which is the possibility to interact with the patient that is a diabetic person and has a tracker to measure the glucose in blood, and can interact with the chatbot if the values that the tracker is measuring are not in line with the expected. And the bot at some point can ask the patient if he wants to get in contact with the nurse. And this is actually the handover. So the bot hands over the conversation to the nurse, and the nurse, instead of starting again asking the same question to the patient, she has already all the details. And this is really, as we were listening before, how do we close the loop, the feedback loop between the patient and the organization? Because what happens today? Today, if a diabetic person has a problem with the measurements, they need to start calling the clinician, and they will have to wait for an appointment to be booked. And when the appointment happens, most of the time they will not remember the conditions of that specific day. And so if the clinician will ask, did you sleep well? What kind of food did you eat? Did you exercise? Clearly, they wouldn't remember. And this is how we see, for example, in this specific scenario, the bot helping to really close the distance between the clinician, the hospital, and the patient. If we move on to the next slide, we have another interesting example. That's a bot developed by Sanitas, is a private healthcare provider in Spain, and that's for a bot. They call it a virtual assistant for psychological disorders. So that's for people that have mental diseases, and they tend not to disclose this because of the specificity of this disease. And they found very helpful to interact anonymously with the bot. So in 2019, 13,000 people have been using Sania, that's the name this virtual assistant, and both to find information that could help them in a specific situation, but also to get in contact with the clinician in a more straightforward way. And what the analysis has shown is that actually the assessment performed by the bot that was asking the same questions that could have been asked in a physical conversation, the bot had the same level of understanding of the situation. So the metrics were very much similar to the physical meetings. So moving to the next one, we come to the COVID situation. So when the emergency started, our healthcare organizations, so the first responders, as we call them, were overwhelmed by phone calls from citizens that just wanted to get some information, but of course, they couldn't provide those information to all of them because the contact center, the call centers were not sized to provide this kind of support to all the citizens that were calling. And here, the healthcare team developed a template specifically for COVID to allow citizens performing a self-assessment. So the template basically is tailored to specific protocols, and the bot is asking the same questions that an operator on the phone could have asked to the citizen, like, do you have temperature? Do you have issues in breathing? Are these symptoms getting better or worse, etc.? And at the end of the conversation, the bot could have provided the citizens with a guidance on how to do next. And we have been, as Western Europe Health Team, and we are very proud of it actually, we have been implementing and supporting healthcare organizations across all Western Europe. This is a relevant example that I wanted to bring to your attention because of the number. No, in just one evening, 30,000 unique citizens were using the healthcare bot for COVID-19 self-assessment, and in 2 weeks' time, 150,000 users. And one additional relevant information that the healthcare bot provides the organization with is the statistics. So they can really see where the questions are coming from, potentially identify new hotspots, and really helping the citizens in providing the right answer at the right time. So if we move to the next one, Fabio, please. And this is because of the emergency, the number of instances have been more than 1,000. So this means that more than 1,000 organizations, first responders, are using our healthcare bot to provide answers and guidance to the citizens. And just a quick remark, this has been provided for free by Microsoft to support our customers and in general all the healthcare organizations that were responding to the emergency. And last but not least, and because I'm Italian and I'm particularly proud of it, we see here Spallanzani Hospital, which is the hospital where the first two COVID people have been treated. So they also have implemented our healthcare bot to provide this kind of support to the citizens. And with this, I'll hand over to the next speaker. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Veronica. Really interesting. Clearly, apart from using conversational AI in many different scenarios in the healthcare sector, as Ram was sharing we are using it also in many commercial cases with many client, customer, a lot of really, and kind of almost any industries adopting conversational AI at different speed. And I would like to elaborate more on this together with Orlando, that has been directly involved in many of these projects. So Orlando, please, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Fabio. So the emerging market of AI conversational platform to build personal assistants is definitely set for growth. Today, I will share a couple of the most important lessons I have learned in working with the most advanced customer in different industries. The first and probably the most important lesson I have learned is that the conversational platform are not just an innovative way to engage customer and employee. It's not just a way to reduce costs in the customer care or providing automating reply, but there is much more value behind that. Actually, conversational platform, if properly adapted, can be a real digital transformation journey for both internal organization and customer. In fact, going deeper in building up conversational platform means to structure your knowledge base that imply to define your data strategy. It means to define the dialogue strategy that imply to define the digital marketing at the end, or HR strategy for the internal communications. And last but not least, it means to properly listen your customer and employee. That's implied to understand the real needs behind and set the future evolution and improvements. So at the end, we can say that like for humans, also for conversational platform, the ability to listen and learn from what you heard is more important than the ability to talk and reply. And the artificial intelligence services, and mainly the cognitive services, today can provide a conversational insight to enable the organization to listen in a more effective way their customer and people. The second lesson I have learned is that use the conversational platform as a differentiator factor in your market. Choose technology that empower the organization to create their own intelligent intelligence conversation platform. And I want to highlight their own conversational platform is a differentiator factor in the market, bringing the value and the cultural proposition and avoid to become a standard commodity. Learn to listen from the customer and employee is such differentiated value that you cannot leave as out-of-the-box standard. We saw that the most successful customers are those that understood this and do it. We will share in the comments some links of the customer and experience we have had, but let me just mention a couple of those. Telecom Italia with NG Assistants, who turned 1 year old a few days ago with a remarkable success in support the customer care and trouble ticket management and creating a fascinating user experience for the end customer. And Vodafone with the Toby Assistant, who created their own unit of neural network training for training the neural network, enabled to respond quickly and effectively to the open question even better. And we have a video about that. So finally, having personally worked with a number of conversational platform projects, I need to say that building an AI conversational platform starting from day zero, where like a baby, you need to understand how to make it properly growth, set the tone, the personality, define the dialogue strategy. Is a fantastic journey to be lived. So at the end, have fun with these two. Fabio, are you here?
Okay, here I'm back. So I was just I was asking Julia whether she want to put some question to Orlando right now, because I see we are receiving a lot of questions. Maybe we can answer one of two now with something at the end, because we are accumulating some hundreds of questions. So otherwise we're here all the night. But they are one question.
There is a very interesting question. So Orlando, based on your experience, which is the most common barrier in adopting artificial intelligence for all the organizations in general, according to what you've seen?
Yes, it's a very key question. So I will say that in theory, everyone and every organization can agree on the value of introducing artificial intelligence in their business processes. The trust in technology maturity and efficiency still remain the main obstacle to overcome. So my suggestion is to approach the project starting from the minimal valuable product, touch the value and the benefit, and scale up as fast as you can.
Thank you, Orlando. Very interesting. I suggest we wait for all the other questions, Julia, at the end, because I would like first maybe to hear our next speaker with us, who is Gabriele. So I would like the stage. I leave the stage to you, Gabriele. I know you are used to a lot of keynotes in front of a lot of people. So really, I look forward to hear your point of view on conversational AI as well.
Thank you, Fabio, once again. Hello, everybody. So if we could move to the next slide, please. Thanks. We're going to talk quickly about artificial intelligence and conversational platforms when are used in the support space. So customer service, customer support, technical support. How can we use these new capabilities to help customers to solve real-life problems whenever they're interacting with companies? And if we could go to the next, please. If I look at research, this is coming from Gartner, a study that has been done earlier this year. There are three main phases for most of the companies when it comes to how they are using service solutions and more in general conversational AI as part of the overall scheme of things when it comes to support. So there is a first phase that is called, the Gartner calls live service dominant, which is basically when you have the contact centers helping the customers in the majority of the cases. And every now and then you will have some situations where you can use some automation, self-service, web content, or other forms to help the customer. And then there is where the majority of the companies are right now that I think is prominent in the industry is what is called digital as a bolt-on experience. So the experience is still designed to be mainly human-assisted, but we are adding some elements of maybe a Q&A bot, maybe some automations, some web forms, some things to help the customers to solve a little bit of their problems autonomously. And then there is the third phase, which is the one that has been used by the companies that are the so-called digital natives and the organizations that have been created to interact in a digital manner before having the need to interact with the people. And these are this phase is called self-service dominant, which I believe is where everybody should be at this point in time, because the technology is available and there is that capability across the board. So you heard my colleagues talking about the advancement of conversational AI. All of that can be easily used to solve customer problems in a support scenario. In my teams and in our company, we have been doing this for a while now. The graph that we were showing in the screen, here we are. This graph is showing the progress over the last 4 fiscal years of how much have been solving customer problems using artificial intelligence versus using assisted support, so using human intelligence. The dark blue bar is showing the amount of contacts that have been addressed using people, basically. And the light blue bar is showing the amount of contacts that have been handled through automation technologies, self-service, conversational AI. And if you see over the last 4 years, 4 fiscal years, we have seen a constant increase of the portion of our overall contact share that has been handled using technology. The beauty of this is that while our business has been growing and our overall demand has been growing, the bars become bigger and bigger, still we have been able to change the paradigm, shift the mix towards having more and more customers being helped by artificial intelligence and by solutions they can control directly. So we are empowering the customers to solve their problems. And while doing that, we see also the line of the customer satisfaction going up. And that's the beauty of it. We learned that the more we put in the end of the customers, the more we empower the customers to self-serve and to solve their problems using technologies like conversational AI, the happier are the customers. So the customer satisfaction has been going up. The beauty of this is also that as we free up time from our support engineers, customer advocates, the people, the experts that can help the customers, we free some of their time because the repetitive tasks are now being handled by conversational AI. What happens is that we have more time to engage in what we call proactive support. So now we don't have to wait for the customer to face a problem. We can help them to solve their problems, even using the human ingenuity, because they have more bandwidth, more time available to actually help the customers rather than always taking inbound contacts. So all in all, it's a win-win situation. What did we learn in this journey while going through this? The first thing is start scrappy. Try to make things easy. Don't overcomplicate. There is a lot of technology available. You heard some of that technology. You will see in the links in the comment section on LinkedIn some examples of which technology is available now. But experiment. Start scrappy. Move fast. Then pilot and measure the results of those early pilots. If things are working, continue. If they are not working, drop them and move on to the next experiment. That's very important to be agile from that standpoint. And when you do that, be able to reinvest the savings. We found that very useful. So return part of the savings to the business, but the majority of those, I truly believe, should be reinvested to further enhance the technology solution so that you can move from, let's say, few dialogues in a conversational AI virtual agent through hundreds and thousands of those dialogues, solving the majority of customer problems. And finally, last but certainly not least, what we found important is when you combine the virtual capabilities with human capabilities. So having conversational AI and having in general machine learning and artificial intelligence combined with human ingenuity, that's where we see the best customer experience ever. So never use artificial intelligence as a barrier to access your experts. Use that as a way to facilitate the work of the customers and your experts. So these are just a couple of ideas. You will see more links in the comment section if you want to dive deep into any of these concepts. Fabio, back to you.
Thank you, Gabriele. Really, really interesting. So now we have around 10 minutes, a little bit more, let's say 15 minutes left for a Q&A. I know we have received a lot of questions, so I start by adding back all the speakers. So Orlando, here you are. Rama, Beck. Now we have Veronica. And I will also add Julia, asking her to facilitate this final session with Q&A. I know you received a lot of questions, Julia. You read a question on LinkedIn and all the other social media. So I really leave to you to moderate this final part here and make it interactive.
I'm sorry, guys, if I don't have all the questions you posted. I'm trying to find some of them. So the first one is for you, Fabio. What are the main risks you see for such a powerful technology?
Let's say that for sure one of the risks is related to the bias, because this technology learns from us. So it can learn from us the good and the bad. It's not right, it's just super effective. So for instance, if for some reason I'm using a conversational AI in a company for employee, not for the customer, to suggest maybe, for instance, to give a point of view on which person to hire, which person to promote, based on the data in most companies, this conversational AI, this AI may learn to promote white man, because that's what the AI could find in many companies, that the board and the manager are composed mainly by men, and white men if you are in the Western countries. So in this case, the risk is really that we should always put our brain, our values, and being very careful about biases. I think this is the biggest risk. Then there is some adoption risk, because you really need to approach a conversational AI in a special way. It's a very special kind of project. So this is also kind of a more an implementation risk.
Okay. Now I have another question for Ram. So this is for you. What kind of organizational changes we should expect with the use of this technology? I believe they refer to like new roles, upskilling, new processes required. I think this is pretty much the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, because one of the key things that we are seeing as part of this technology change that is happening is helping people in the organization to build trust on the technology. So if you think about from a change management perspective, that should be the key focus, because fundamentally we are moving into an era where we were in complete control of the decisions we took and the outcomes from those decisions, to slowly now where we as humans will still be owning the decisions, but the decisions might be taken by machines. So fundamentally, that the change that needs to happen is really helping everybody in the organization build that trust in that technology that they are going to be using, and building trust on the outcomes and the results from the technology and the decisions that the technology would make. So that's one. The second part, from a people and process standpoint, I think Gabriela mentioned about this. There needs to be a much more of a, I would say, an experimental approach that needs to happen. So you start slow, you build on your successes, and then you continue to pilot and extend those pilots. So that's the best way that we have seen. So a big bang approach versus try to take one step at a time, and in that process, taking the people in the organization along with you as well.
Okay, thanks, Ram. Now,
some other questions.
Yeah, now we have a question for Veronica, because it's about COVID, which is a great trend. So the question for you is, that's another one. In what way technology can help prevent or fight a future epidemics such as COVID?
So, if we want to stick to the bot and conversational platform, we are already seeing new scenarios popping up. So, on top of the self-assessment healthcare bot that we have been implementing across a lot of organizations. One example is the possibility to hand over the conversation. So if the self-assessment ends with the need for the citizen to contact a clinician, you can really hand over to the clinician from the bot, and providing the clinician with all the information already collected by the bot. We can have the symptom checker integrated, so you can really start moving a little bit more into the clinical space with an application that really allows you to check your symptoms according to the healthcare protocols. But more in general, what we see as a relevant step for our healthcare customers going forward is the possibility to build a data platform that will collect data from various sources, and the healthcare bot, of course, can be one, but then you have all the vertical applications in hospitals, but also information coming from the external, and then really being able to work to prepare this data, because of course there is always the need for interoperability, and then to reason over this large amount of data through AI and machine learning algorithm to predict what's next. So one example is how can I assign to a patient that has a COVID, that is positive for COVID-19, a risk factor that will help me as an healthcare organization to decide if this patient needs to be hospitalized or can stay at home for the quarantine period. So these kind of approaches are the ones that we see increasingly for the responding phase once the react phase has ended.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. It's a complex topic. It's super important, really. both today, but also looking forward. What you shared is, I think, fundamental for facing the situation and really preparing for the phase 3, phase 4, and the future at the end. I don't know, Julia, is there any question for Orlando or for Gabriele among the one we received?
Yes, if we have time, I think there is just one question which I saw lots of people asking about. Orlando, do you have often mentioned that the conversational platform can be used both for our final customers, but also for our internal customers, the employees? So could you please tell us about some experiences that you had on this second case?
Yes, definitely. So there are customers who are using the conversational platform to engage their employee also all along the value chain. So from the hiring to the upskill or career development. And it's fantastic to see how once you have integrated the cognitive services with the client legacy backend, you can use the conversational platform to perform both activities that can reduce human effort, like CV screening, or can augment the human ability, such as understanding from my video interview the attitude or the characteristics of a candidate. So, and this is something possible already today. So yes, definitely.
Thank you, Orlando. Thank you. So I don't know, Julia, if since it's almost 7 o'clock Italian time, I know that we are almost near the conclusion of this interesting session, at least for me. Is there any question for Gabriele that you want to choose?
There is a new one. So do users own their data? And if so, how different AI services exchange the data? And how is the data security ensured? I think it's a great question. So please, Gabriele.
I agree. It's a great question and a complex one too. So I will try to give it a first stab with a few minutes. So I think it's important that all the conversational AI and any AI and machine learning solutions need to protect customer data and be transparent about the uses of data. We have plenty of studies that demonstrate that that is the biggest concern for the users, how to ensure that they know what is happening with their data and they can control and eventually remove or modify or amend the data that has been provided to AI. So we need to create solutions that are transparent from that standpoint. Some of the infrastructure we use at Microsoft are built exactly to do that. So even when we create more complex services, they have in the foundation the ability to protect customer data and be transparent about it. But I would recommend also to go deeper. I will provide a couple of links to provide more information about this, what the studies we are doing. There is an entire field of conversation around what we call ethical AI, which I believe is one of the biggest and most important things to consider when applying any machine-driven solution to customers or in general to users.
Thank you, Gabriele. It's almost 7 o'clock Italian time. I think it's what it is, 11 in the morning, 10 in the morning for you in Seattle, Gabriele. And I know that we have a hard stop. So thank you, everyone, for having joined us. I know there are lots of questions still that we were not able to answer in this 1 hour, but we will do our best to follow up in the comment section, answering some of these questions. And maybe we will evaluate also whether doing a next session like this one, again, on conversational platforms, given the strong interest that I know this technology is receiving due to the way it is impacting our society, our companies, and it's shaping the future. So thank you again for all the questions that we received. Thank you for having been here with us. Share this link if you found it interesting, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you from me, from Milano.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks.